My name's Eric. I'm 42 now. I met Amanda when I was 24 and she was 23. It was at a friend's cookout just outside Atlanta. Nothing fancy, just a backyard. Folding chairs, paper plates, cheap beer. I was standing at the grill trying not to ruin a batch of burgers when she walked over and made a joke about how badly I was flipping them. I gave it right back, and we stood there talking for an hour without even noticing everyone else had moved inside. There wasn't some dramatic movie moment. It was just easy, comfortable. She had this laugh that made you want to keep talking, and this confidence that didn't try too hard. I asked for her number before the night was over. We had coffee that same week, dinner the next. The rest kind of wrote itself. We moved in together a little under a year later. A small one-bedroom near Marietta, nothing fancy, but it was ours. I still remember us painting the walls a soft green even though the lighting made it look weird at night. We didn't care. It felt like the start of something. 3 years in, I proposed. Simple setup, just the two of us on a weekend trip in the mountains. No big crowd, no hidden photographer. Just her, me, and a quiet moment that felt right. She said yes before I finished the sentence. We got married that fall. Small ceremony at a lakeside venue, just close family and friends. It wasn't elaborate, but it was perfect. Amanda planned the whole thing. She was always good at that, pulling together details, making things look effortless. I mostly just showed up in the right suit and smiled a lot. About a year later, we bought our first house, a cozy 3-bedroom just outside the city. Big enough for the two of us and, eventually, more. We spent weekends putting furniture together, arguing over paint samples, finding second-hand decor that somehow pulled the rooms together. I took over the garage, she took over the kitchen. We shared the rest. Amanda worked in marketing, first for a boutique agency, then later for a bigger firm. I'd been doing IT support since college and eventually moved into a systems admin role at a regional logistics company. It paid well, didn't demand too much after hours, and gave us enough to live comfortably. 2 years after the wedding, we had our daughter, Sarah. Having a kid changed everything in the way people say it does. Less sleep, more mess, all love. Amanda was a natural with her. I did my best to keep up. We didn't have a manual, but we figured it out together. That was our life. Weekdays were busy. Evenings were quiet. Weekends were mostly for errands and cartoons. We'd have dinner at the table or on the couch with a show, or at the park with Sarah when the weather was good. It was normal, familiar, the kind of life that felt like it was moving in the right direction. And at the time, I truly believed we were exactly where we were supposed to be. By the time Sarah was in kindergarten, our world had settled into something steady. The days moved fast, but the shape of them stayed familiar. Amanda and I had our routines down to a science, the morning scramble, the evening wind down, everything in between. Life wasn't glamorous, but it felt solid. Predictable in the best way. Amanda usually handled the morning shift. She'd be the one packing Sarah's lunch, brushing out her hair while half watching the news, getting her into the car seat with a string of reminders about homework folders and snack time. I'd do breakfast cleanup and make coffee for both of us, always 2 sugars in hers. We didn't talk much during those hours, too much movement, not enough time, but it was a good kind of quiet. Comfortable. Like 2 people who knew exactly how to move around each other without even thinking about it. Work took up most of my daylight hours. My job in IT was rarely dramatic, but always busy. There was always something to patch, some system to monitor, some forgotten password to reset for someone 3 offices away. Amanda's job was more creative. She worked from home most days, either in the upstairs office or at the dining table with her laptop and half a dozen notepads scattered around. Sometimes I'd come home to music playing and the smell of a new candle she picked up, just to try, and she'd be sitting cross-legged in a hoodie, tapping away like she was solving a puzzle only she could see. Sarah brought the best kind of chaos into our lives. She had this boundless curiosity that made every trip to the grocery store feel like a scavenger hunt. She was obsessed with dinosaurs for a while, then switched suddenly to space, then mermaids. I never kept up, but Amanda always did. She knew exactly how to talk to her, when to joke, when to be firm, when to just listen. I think that's one of the things I loved most about Amanda. She was a great mom. Not just good at it, but present. Thoughtful. She made Sarah's lunch into little bento box creations and still found time to read to her every night. Evenings were slower. We'd eat dinner as a family, then take turns with bedtime duty. Sometimes Amanda would scroll through her phone after Sarah was asleep while I cleaned the kitchen or folded laundry. Other nights we'd watch something together, comedies, true crime, the usual. She always had strong opinions about the characters, and I'd mostly just let her talk through them while I passed the popcorn. It was easy. Familiar. I liked that. On weekends, we split the errands. Amanda liked grocery shopping, said it gave her a weird sense of peace. I handled yard work, fixes around the house, oil changes, whatever needed doing. Once a month we'd do something just the two of us, dinner out, a movie, an art exhibit she found online. We didn't always talk about deep things, but we didn't need to. The comfort was in the repetition. Every now and then, I'd look around at our house, not fancy, but warm, and feel something close to pride. This life, the one we'd built together, it wasn't just luck. It was effort. It was showing up, every day, even when it wasn't exciting. That meant something. And at the center of it all was Amanda, my wife, my partner, the mother of my kid. She made our life beautiful in 1,000 little ways I never really stopped to count. I never imagined I'd have to. We had a good life. That's really the best way I can put it. Not flashy or extravagant, but full of the kind of routines and inside jokes and quiet stability that people don't notice when they have it. Amanda and I had been married for over a decade by this point, and I'd settled into the belief that what we had was solid. Something other people might even envy in a quiet way. We had a small circle of friends, mostly other parents we met through Sarah's school or friends from work who drifted into our social life and stayed. Weekend cookouts, birthday parties, group texts about TV shows, or school fundraisers. Amanda was great at maintaining those friendships. She kept the calendar. She remembered who liked what wine. She knew everyone's kid's name and the last drama someone mentioned 6 weeks ago. I leaned on her in that way. I was more the quiet one in social settings. She had a way of keeping things light and fun without ever feeling fake. We hosted often. Amanda loved it. She had a knack for putting a table together, charcuterie boards, drink pairings, candles that somehow matched the vibe of the evening. I was the one on the grill or refilling ice. She'd float between conversations like she was built for it. After everyone left, we'd collapse on the couch, tired but happy. "I think that went well," she'd always say. And it usually did. There was laughter in our house. That's something I don't want to forget. Sarah filled it with questions and stories and constant energy, but Amanda brought her own light, too. She was funny in a sharp, dry way that caught me off guard even after years together. She'd walk into the room mid-sentence with a thought and expect me to follow, and I usually did. We had a rhythm. That's what it felt like. Not passion 24/7 or grand gestures, but rhythm. A sense of knowing how to move around each other without crashing. We took trips when we could. Mostly small ones. Long weekends at the beach, mountain cabins with board games and bad cell service. Quick getaways where Sarah could splash in a hotel pool and Amanda could browse antique shops while I carried the bags. We talked sometimes about going overseas one day. When things slowed down, we'd say, when work isn't so crazy. That was always the plan. Someday. Intimacy between us had changed over the years. I think that's normal. Less frequent, maybe, but not absent. She'd still brush her fingers along my back as she walked by. I'd rest my hand on her knee during a movie. Little things. The kind you barely notice until they're gone. But at the time, I thought we were fine. Maybe even better than fine. Every night, we'd check on Sarah one last time before bed. Amanda always adjusted the blanket, even if it didn't need it. I'd turn off the hallway light. Then we'd climb into bed. She'd read or scroll her phone. I'd watch something or drift off early. Quiet endings to full days. I didn't lie awake wondering what was missing. I didn't question if she still loved me. I thought I knew where we stood. I thought we were safe. The first time I felt it, I didn't even realize what I was feeling. Just a pause. That's the only way I can describe it. A half-second of hesitation in Amanda's voice, a beat too long between words when I asked her where she'd been. It was a Thursday evening, sometime in early spring. I got home a little earlier than usual. Traffic had been light, which was rare. Amanda wasn't there. Sarah was still at a friend's house down the street, and the house felt oddly still. Her car wasn't in the driveway, but there was a half-finished cup of coffee on the kitchen counter and her phone charger still plugged in. I figured she'd just run out for something. It wasn't unusual. She came in about 20 minutes later, purse over her shoulder, a bag of groceries in one hand. Normal. Almost too normal. "Hey," I said, setting down my keys. "Didn't expect you to be out." "Oh," she replied, a little too fast. "Yeah, I had to grab a few things for dinner." And I stopped for gas. I nodded. Didn't think much of it until I glanced in the grocery bag. No dinner ingredients, just some snacks, a bottle of wine, and a new journal. It didn't match the explanation. But again, I didn't say anything. I told myself I was being weird, overthinking. Except that feeling didn't go away. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing other small things. Amanda would laugh at a text and quickly tilt her phone away. She'd go upstairs to take a call more often. She started putting on perfume before errands, even if she was just running to Target. I asked her once if she was seeing someone from work, half joking, half not. She rolled her eyes and said, "You're being paranoid," and kissed me like it was nothing. And maybe it was nothing. Maybe I was just being insecure. We'd been together for so long. Maybe I was misreading the natural drift that happens when two people have shared the same walls for over a decade. That's what I told myself. That's what I wanted to believe. But there were other moments I couldn't explain away so easily. Like how she'd lock her phone now, a new habit. Or how she used to leave her laptop open when she got up to grab coffee, but now she always closed it. I noticed her smiling at messages she didn't talk about. Not giggling, smiling. That kind of smile you give when something makes your stomach flutter. One Saturday night, after Sarah had gone to bed and Amanda was in the shower, I passed by her phone on the nightstand. It buzzed. Just once. A preview flashed. No name. Just a message. "I miss you already." I didn't touch it. I didn't say anything. I just stared at it until the screen went dark again. When she came out, hair wrapped in a towel, humming softly, I acted like everything was fine. Because I wasn't ready for things not to be fine. Because admitting I saw what I saw would mean stepping into a version of my life I wasn't prepared to face. I've always been the kind of guy who gives people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe that's a strength. Maybe that's a flaw. But in a marriage, especially one that's lasted this long, you learn to let things go. You assume the best. You trust that the person you've built a life with isn't hiding anything that would burn it all down. But it was getting harder to ignore the feeling that something had shifted. It wasn't dramatic. Amanda didn't turn cold or pick fights. She still kissed me goodbye in the morning, still curled up next to me on the couch at night, still laughed at Sarah's jokes around the dinner table. But underneath it, I could feel a kind of distance, like a layer of glass had settled between us. She was going through the motions, but it didn't feel like she was all the way here. I noticed she'd started working later. She'd say a client needed last-minute revisions or she was meeting someone from her team for coffee. Harmless things on the surface. But they came more often, and always with a little too much detail, like she'd thought through the explanation before I even asked. Then there were the texts. She was on her phone more, but quieter about it. I'd glance over and she'd tilt the screen away or switch apps. Once or twice, she stepped out of the room to take a call and came back smiling, not big, not over the top, but in that way that looks personal. I asked who it was once and she shrugged. Just work stuff. Same answer every time. I tried not to jump to conclusions. I told myself this was just what marriage looked like after over a decade. People get busy, lives get noisy, connection takes more work. Maybe I was the one slacking. Maybe I'd stopped paying attention. So I started making more of an effort. I asked her out for dinner one night, just the two of us. She agreed, quickly, almost too quickly, and we went to a place we hadn't been in years. It was a nice evening, the food was good, and she laughed at my bad jokes like she used to. But even in that candlelit booth, with her hand in mine, I felt like I was trying to reach someone who was already halfway somewhere else. After dinner, we drove home in silence. Not uncomfortable silence, but not connected either. I looked over at her while we sat at a red light, her face lit by the dashboard glow, scrolling something on her phone, and I had this strange flash of unfamiliarity, like I was watching a stranger pretend to be someone I knew. Still, I said nothing. I smiled when we got home. I helped Sarah with her school project. I asked Amanda if she wanted tea, and she said yes, and we sat on opposite sides of the couch while a sitcom played in the background, and the clock kept ticking forward. I didn't know anything for sure. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. But something was already slipping out from under me, and no matter how hard I tried to hold on, I could feel it moving. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from pretending everything's normal. Not just for a day or two, but for weeks, long, hollow days where your gut tells you something isn't right, but your brain keeps trying to rewrite the script. You smile when you don't feel it. You say, "I love you," because that's what you're supposed to say, not because it rises naturally from your chest anymore. That's where I was living. Amanda hadn't changed dramatically. That was part of what made it so confusing. She still kissed me goodbye in the morning, still helped Sarah with her homework at night. but it all felt practiced, like a dance she'd done too many times. Like she wasn't really in it, just going through motions she'd long since memorized. I caught her texting late one night. I was half asleep, rolled over, and saw the glow of her phone lighting up her face. She didn't see me look. She smiled at the screen, not a laugh, not a chuckle, just a slow, soft smile, and then typed something and turned the phone over. Screen down. The next morning, I asked, "Who were you texting so late?" She barely looked up from her coffee. "Claire. She's having drama with her boyfriend again." Claire. The same friend who lived 3 states away, who barely texted Amanda except on birthdays and holidays. I didn't press it. I nodded and went back to buttering Sarah's toast, but my hands were shaking a little. It's strange what you start noticing when you're unsure if your reality is intact. How many times she showers now. How her gym bag seems to be packed even on days she says she didn't go. How she mentioned a new coworker, Drew. "I think you'd like him. He's funny," and then never brought him up again. One evening, Amanda came home wearing a new top I'd never seen before. Something form-fitting, not her usual casual wear. I said, "That's new?" And she smiled and said, "You don't remember? I've had this for ages." I didn't argue, but I knew I hadn't seen it before. And later, when I checked the laundry basket, it wasn't there. There were moments when I thought I was losing my mind. I'd sit at my desk at work, trying to concentrate on server logs, but my thoughts kept looping back to her. Was I imagining it? Was I reading too much into things? Or was there something right in front of me that I wasn't ready to see? At night, I'd lie awake next to her, staring at the ceiling, wondering what version of her I was sleeping beside. I still loved her. I think that was the hardest part. I still wanted to believe we were okay, that we were just tired, that maybe we needed a weekend away or a good long talk or something simple to pull us back together. But deep down, something was changing. Not with her. With me. I was starting to listen to the silence more than her words. And the silence was louder every day. I think the worst part was pretending I still believed her. Not because I wanted to test her or trap her, but because I didn't know how else to exist in the space we were sharing. The doubt had become constant, not sharp, not loud, but something quieter, deeper. It lived under everything. I'd pour her coffee in the morning and wonder if she was texting someone else while I stood 2 feet away. I'd watch her brush Sarah's hair and smile, and I'd feel a twist in my stomach because that smile looked exactly like the one she gave me when she told me she'd be working late again. The weirdest part is, I didn't want to catch her. That's not what I was hoping for. I wasn't digging through her phone or following her around. I wasn't trying to build a case. I was just hoping something would make sense, that there'd be some reason for the distance. Something fixable. Something human. Because what I was seeing in her eyes lately didn't look like stress or fatigue. It looked like absence. Like she was physically present, but somewhere else entirely. It became more obvious at home. She started turning down invitations to do anything outside the routine. Dinner with friends, Sarah's school events, even simple walks in the evening like we used to. "I'm tired," she'd say. "It's been a long day." But when I suggested we rest together, a movie night, an early bedtime, anything, she'd get snappy, or worse, indifferent. "I just need a little space." "Okay," she'd say, and I'd nod like that was normal. Like I didn't feel her slipping further away every time she said it. One Saturday morning, I came downstairs earlier than usual and found her in the kitchen already dressed, hair done, makeup light but perfect. She was pouring coffee like it was just another day. "You're up early," I said, trying to keep my tone casual. She looked at me over her shoulder and said, "Meeting Laura for brunch." I nodded, but something about her was different. She used to mention brunch plans a few days in advance. She used to ask if I wanted to come. But now she just told me, like I wasn't part of the equation anymore. After she left, I sat in the kitchen with my coffee going cold, trying to remember when things changed. I couldn't find a clear moment. There was no fight, no breaking point, just a slow fade, like someone dimming the lights so gradually you don't notice until you're sitting in the dark. I didn't ask Sarah if she noticed anything. I didn't want to drag her into my uncertainty, but I caught her watching Amanda sometimes, with this quiet, uncertain look that reminded me of how I'd been looking at her too. And that scared me more than anything. I still loved Amanda, even with all of it. I still loved the version of her I knew, or thought I knew. And I held on to that version like a photograph I couldn't bring myself to throw away, even as it started to curl at the edges and fade in the corners. What I didn't know then was that the truth was closer than I imagined, and that it wouldn't come from Amanda. It would come from someone far more honest and far more heartbreaking. It was a Wednesday afternoon, One of those strange in-between days where the weather can't decide if it's spring or fall. I had gotten off work early, a rare gap in my schedule, and decided to surprise Amanda and Sarah by picking up takeout from that Thai place we all liked. I wasn't trying to prove anything or make a gesture. I just missed them. I missed how we used to be. And maybe a part of me thought, hoped, that one simple evening together might start to bring things back into focus. When I got home, I walked through the front door as quietly as I always did. The house was calm, soft light spilling in through the blinds. I set the food on the counter and was about to call out when I heard Sarah's voice upstairs. She was in her room, laughing, talking fast, the way teenagers do when they think no one's listening. I paused, not because I meant to eavesdrop, but because something about her tone froze me in place. There were two other voices, a video call, I think, and then Sarah's voice cut through, clear as anything. No, seriously, my mom's been cheating on my dad for, like, months. And he's so clueless, it's kind of sad. The room spun. I didn't breathe. Another voice, one of her friends, said something I couldn't catch, and Sarah laughed again. Yeah, she says she's going to yoga, or whatever, but she's really seeing that guy. Not even her boss. Just some guy. She thinks I don't know, but I've seen the texts. She leaves her phone open sometimes. Another pause. He still makes her dinner like nothing's wrong. Like, she just comes home from him and kisses my dad on the cheek. It's disgusting. I don't remember sitting down, but I found myself on the stairs, legs heavy, hands trembling. The words kept echoing in my head. Not just the betrayal, but the tone in her voice. She didn't sound angry. She didn't sound sad. She sounded resigned. Like it was old news. Like everyone knew but me. And maybe they did. I sat there for I don't know how long. My throat was dry. My mind tried to make sense of it, to rationalize, to explain it away somehow. But there was nothing left to explain. There was no more guessing. No more maybe. My daughter, our daughter, had laid it out in a handful of sentences, casual and sharp as glass. Amanda had been cheating on me. For months. And Sarah had known. I stood up slowly and walked back to the kitchen like I was moving through water. The food sat there, untouched, still warm in its containers. Pad Thai. Spring rolls. Her favorite. I stared at it, at the table we'd all sat around 100 times, and felt something cold settle in my chest. She'd lied to me. She'd used the time I gave her, the trust one placed in her, and traded it for someone else. And she came home like nothing happened. Smiling. Laughing. Asking if we had milk. I didn't say anything that night. Not yet. I needed time. I needed silence. I needed to figure out what a man is supposed to do when the person he built his entire life around tears it down behind his back. But one thing was already clear. Amanda had made her choice. And now it was time for me to make mine. It's strange how quietly the world keeps moving when yours has just collapsed. The day after I heard Sarah talking to her friends, everything looked the same. The house, the yard, Amanda's toothbrush in the holder, her jacket on the back of the chair. But nothing felt the same. It was like walking through a film set built to look like my life. Familiar shapes. Hollow inside. That night, Amanda came home like usual. She dropped her bag by the door, gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, and walked into the kitchen without noticing the way I was looking at her. I watched her move, open a bottle of wine, ask what was for dinner, talk about some client who forgot a meeting. She was so smooth, so practiced. I realized then just how many nights she'd probably come home from him and slipped right into our routine without blinking. I wondered if he kissed her goodbye before she walked through my door. I wondered if she texted him from the bathroom while I was setting the table. And somehow, I stayed calm. Too calm. I didn't say anything. Didn't ask questions. I just watched. Studied her. Every move she made suddenly looked rehearsed, like she was playing a version of herself that I had long since memorized, and that made me feel like a stranger in my own home. I didn't sleep that night. My brain kept turning over every moment, every lie I'd swallowed without knowing it. Every time I defended her distance as stress, every time I told myself marriage has ebbs and flows. What hit me the hardest wasn't just the cheating. It was that she looked me in the eye every day and still chose to pretend. She let our daughter carry the weight of that secret. She let me cook for her, laugh with her, hold her, while she gave parts of herself to someone else. Not once. Not as a mistake. As a choice. Over and over again. So I made one too. The next day, while she was out, I packed every single one of her things, clothes, shoes, jewelry, makeup, every personal item I could find. I opened the bedroom window and dropped them into the front yard, piece by piece, until the grass was covered in the life she no longer had here. I didn't rage. I didn't break anything. It was clinical, efficient. I wanted her to feel what I felt, a home emptied of trust, a life dismantled. And yes, I did something else, something I won't explain away. I called her sister. We'd never been close, not really. But she knew something was wrong the second she answered. Maybe she'd known longer than I had. Maybe she just wanted to hurt Amanda as much as I did. What happened that night wasn't about lust or love. It wasn't about starting something new. It was about ending something old. And when it was over, I recorded myself looking into the camera and saying one thing. I know everything. I sent it to Amanda. No caption. No warning. When she got home that night and saw her things in the yard, she started yelling, demanding answers. I opened the door, looked her in the eye, and said, "You don't live here anymore." She tried to cry. She tried to explain. She said I misunderstood. She begged me not to do this in front of Sarah. But I was already walking away. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing since. Calls, messages, emails. From Amanda, from her sister, even from Sarah, who doesn't know yet what I've seen, what I've heard. But I'm done pretending. Amanda wanted another life. Now she is one. And I'm finally free to build mine. It's amazing how fast the noise stops once you decide to stop answering it. After I kicked Amanda out and blocked her number, everything went still. The house was quiet in a way it hadn't been for years, not just empty, but peaceful. No small lies echoing in the hallways. No pretending. No weight in the air that I couldn't explain. At first, the silence was heavy. Not comforting. Just empty. I walked through the house like a man occupying a stranger's life, traces of her still everywhere. A wine glass left in the dishwasher. A cardigan hanging on the back of a chair. A pair of earrings on the dresser she must have forgotten in her rush. I boxed it all up. Put it in the garage. I couldn't look at it without feeling like I'd been hit in the chest. Sarah stayed with Amanda for a while. That part cut the deepest. Not because she chose her mother. I didn't blame her. But because I didn't know what she thought of me now. I didn't know if she understood what had happened. Or how much I had tried to protect her from seeing the cracks that were never mine to explain. I didn't want to pull her into the middle. I just wanted her to be okay. I poured myself into work for a while, long hours, quiet nights. I went back to the gym. I reorganized the garage, then the closets, then the garage again. Anything to fill the time. Anything to keep me from staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., wondering how long Amanda had been planning to leave me without actually packing a bag. I started seeing a therapist, something I never would have considered before. I told her everything about Amanda, the affair, Sarah, even the night with Amanda's sister. She didn't judge. She just listened. And slowly, I started piecing things together. Not excuses. Not explanations. Just truth. Sometimes the most painful thing isn't that someone lies to you. It's realizing how much of your life was built on trusting those lies without question. Then, about 6 weeks later, I met someone. Her name's Lena. We met at a bookstore of all places. I was buying a book on home renovations, something to keep my hands busy, and she was in the next aisle arguing with herself out loud about whether or not to reread a novel she clearly already loved. I laughed. She looked over. We talked. Just 10 minutes. But it was the first time in a long time I felt like I was there, in a moment, not carrying every broken thing with me like a weight strapped to my back. We got coffee the next week. Then dinner. Then nothing for a while. She's not a replacement. She's not a rebound. She's a reminder that the world didn't end. That maybe, just maybe, I'm not broken beyond repair. I don't know where it's going. I don't need to. For now, I'm just letting things unfold without trying to force them to look like anything they're not. Because I'm not performing anymore. I'm just living. And for the first time in a long time, that feels like enough. It's been almost a year since everything came apart. Since I heard my daughter speak the truth I hadn't been ready to see. Since Amanda walked through our front door wearing someone else's scent and someone else's loyalty. A year since I stopped living in the version of my life that was built on trust one didn't know was misplaced. People ask if I'd take it all back, if I'd undo it if I could. And the truth is, I wouldn't. Not because I wanted any of this to happen. I didn't. But because once the lie unraveled, I saw everything else more clearly. Who I was, who Amanda had become, what I'd accepted as normal just to keep the peace. There was a time when I would have given anything to fix it. When I thought love was supposed to mean sticking around even when it hurt, even when it made you small, even when it left you guessing in your own home. I don't believe that anymore. Love, real love, doesn't ask you to doubt yourself every time someone else stops showing up. I see Amanda now only in flashes. In the occasional co-parenting message about Sarah's school schedule. In the way Sarah sometimes looks at me when she's trying to figure out how much to say. I don't speak ill of her. I don't correct the stories she tells herself or anyone else. I don't need to, because I'm not chasing explanations anymore. I'm not chasing closure. I don't need her to be sorry. I don't need her to understand what she broke. She already knows. I've found something better than forgiveness. I've found peace. I get up early now, not because I have to, but because I like the stillness of the morning. I drink my coffee slowly. I read more. I cook meals that don't feel rushed. Lena and I still see each other. Nothing defined, nothing forced. Just two people learning how to be human around each other. She listens. She doesn't try to fix me. She just lets me be. Sarah comes over more often now. We don't talk about what happened. Not directly. But we've rebuilt something. A quiet trust that doesn't ask questions it's not ready to answer. We walk the dog. We make pancakes. She's still sharp, still observant. But I think she sees that I'm okay now. And that's enough. I still have moments. Flashbacks. Days when the memories sneak up behind me and make me pause. But they don't paralyze me anymore. They don't own me. Amanda made her choice. I made mine. And while hers cost her a life built on lies, mine gave me one built on truth. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not sad. I'm just here. And I'm finally free.